thank you all for being here. It's always a great day when you have the opportunity to take your controversy to the U.S. Supreme Court, particularly when you're dealing with the United States government. I want to thank particularly Eric Schmidt, wherever he is, not hard to find, the Attorney General of Missouri, for co-leading this case. We couldn't have done it without him. He's done an amazing job, and he's doing an amazing job as Attorney General. In a few minutes, you'll get to hear from him. And of course, I also want to thank our Solicitor General, Judge Stone, who did a really amazing job today, and we're going to give him a chance to say something as well. You know, this is a really important case. It's an important case not just because it deals with immigration that affects my state every day, and in my opinion, we've all become border states because of the transportation from the cartels to Border Patrol and then into the country. We're all border states. It affects all of us. And the consequences of this loophole of asylum, where everybody knows and they're trained to show up at the border and actually turn themselves in to Border Patrol. They're not running from Border Patrol, they're turning themselves in, because that's how it works now. Cartels deliver, the Biden administration transports them, and we're arguing that the Biden administration, just like the rest of us, have to follow federal law. They either have to detain them or send them back to their country of origin. It's a very simple argument that Judd made so well today. I really trust that we did the best we could today, and I really believe that we're going to get a good result from this. And hopefully we can begin to protect the American people from the consequences of this huge loophole that everyone knows is a loophole that has dramatic consequences for the safety of our country, from the importation of drugs to the importation of other crime. So thank you all very much. And now I'd like to have Eric Schmidt, the Attorney General of Missouri, say a few words, and then we'll have Judge Stone step up and say a few words.
Thanks, Ken.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to thank Ken and his whole team. They do a great job, and John Sauer, my solicitor, also for the work that they've done in conjunction here with Texas. Every state is a border state, and I view Missouri as a proxy for all the other states that are impacted by the crisis we have at the border, a man-made crisis created by Joe Biden, who reflexively, on day one, tried to undo all of the successes under President Trump. And we had a secure border. And the migrant protection protocols and the Remain in Mexico policy was a big part of that. So was, by the way, Title 42, which is another issue that we got a positive result at the district court on yesterday. But today, this is a central question about the rule of law and about border security. And the Biden administration's level of lawlessness and how they've handled these issues is staggering. And that's why we've been victorious before at the lower court, why we're back here today. The Supreme Court obviously issued that injunction months ago. Now we're back here on the merits. We're very hopeful for a positive decision and result here, because ultimately the fentanyl, the human trafficking, the drug trafficking, it doesn't stop in El Paso. It doesn't stop in McAllen. It ends up in Kansas City and in St. Louis and Columbia and in Columbus, Ohio, and in Denver, and all points across the United States. So this case, as we're talking about an open border policy, is central to getting control of our southern border. And so I want to thank again Ken and his team in Missouri and Texas, really working together on a number of different fronts here, not just for those states that are on the border, but for all the other states in this country who have effectively become border states. Thank you.
One other quick note, I wanted to thank Indiana. Todd Rokita, the Attorney General there, led a coalition of other, I think it was 19 states total, behind Missouri and Texas on this issue. And I wanted to thank him for his good work supporting our work. And it does go to show that this is an issue that doesn't just affect border states, it's affecting the entire country. And now I want Judge Stone to give you just a few words on his impressions of being in front of the court today. Judd?
Having already given about an hour's worth of words, I'll try and keep this brief. I'm very grateful to Generals Paxton and Schmidt and to my counterpart, John Sauer, Solicitor General of Missouri, for the opportunity to represent the states in this case. This represents another lawsuit by the state of Texas, thanks to the leadership of General Paxton, in this case also of General Schmidt, reflecting a common theme, which is, though the Biden administration may have viewed itself as elected to pursue a variety of substantive priorities to the administration, they nonetheless have to comply both with substantive immigration law as well as the Administrative Procedure Act's procedures for actually enacting the policies that they'd like. This administration, as district and appellate courts have found repeatedly, is all too cavalier about the ways by which it engages in executive action, and it's all credit to Generals Paxton and Schmidt that they've devoted the resources and the attorneys to be able to prosecute as many of these cases as possible, because there's a number of different things the administration does. There are many different priorities in the world that an attorney general has to choose among, and it's because of their leadership that we've had the opportunity to argue this case today. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge. And so now, if you have questions, I would encourage you to direct all the easy questions to me and all the hard questions to General Schmidt. So any questions about today?
Yes.
Yes.
It seems to be unclear what the Biden administration's stated mission is behind lifting Title 42 and also the Remain in Mexico policy. What do you believe is the real motivation behind the administration's actions to just let illegals in?
Yeah, and as you said, they don't seem to have a stated mission, so we can only surmise what the consequences are. And, you know, I think they want to get as many people here, and they've advertised it to the cartels. Cartels have a tacit agreement with the Biden administration. We'll get as many people there to the border as possible. We'll deliver them to you, to federal agents, and then we will transport them around the country, presumably to vote someday, to give amnesty to. And that, I mean, look, if that's not the right answer, I don't know what the right answer is.
Yeah, and let me address that too. I think it's obvious at this point. This administration is trying to pack the United States Supreme Court. They're trying to add states to the union. They're trying to federalize our elections, and they have an open border policy. This administration now is trying to fundamentally change this country forever. And they know a reckoning is coming in November, and they're doing everything they can before November to do that. That's the truth.
Yes.
General Schmidt, specifically of Missouri, I'm going to start.
Yeah.
How is this affecting the day-to-day lives of Missouri? You mentioned that everybody's a border state. What does that mean specifically?
So overdose deaths now are the #1 cause of deaths for adults 18 to 45. The amount of fentanyl that's coming across the border, the drug cartels are running the show. They're in charge. I've been down to the border twice. They control not just the border, but zones of influence in the interior of the United States. So the amount of drug trafficking. We were down at the border, a law enforcement official indicated there was $100 million a week in human smuggling happening. Missouri's taken the lead on taking on human trafficking. We led a multi-state raid just a few months ago that was one of the biggest in the history of the country. We've seen an increase in human trafficking. And so the level of lawlessness that's taking place because the cartels are running the border affects everybody, including Missouri.
Yeah, but so you seem to be conflating kind of, the drug problem that's going on at the border with the immigration problem that's going on at the border. How are you kind of relating those two in terms of the migrant?
Because the cartels are controlling the border.
Isn't it also a people issue? Like,
Human trafficking. Well, I would also argue, too, that there's a tax burden on Missouri citizens that's increased because of the level of human trafficking, too. So there's a financial burden, there's a crime burden, there's a human toll. And by the way, there's nothing compassionate about this policy. If you're trying to actually argue on behalf of Biden, there's nothing compassionate about these cartels taking hostage, many instances, people in Mexico seeking asylum here, okay? So the reality is, what we have now is the Biden administration, you're released, what they want to have happen is to be released into the interior of the United States. That's the financial motive for the cartels to get them across. If Mexico's the waiting room, you take away that financial incentive for the cartels. So it's a very big issue.
And I'm going to add to the answer, which is when these Border Patrol agents are doing logistics, which clearly they're doing logistics now, they're having to manage hundreds of thousands of people crossing the border every month, and we don't have enough for the invitation. The invitation is greater than the capacity. The Biden administration has an open invitation to as many people as the cartels can bring, and the cartels are bringing more than the Biden administration can handle. What that means is those border agents are not protecting the borders the way they would against the importation of drugs, which is why we have such a high number of people dying from overdoses. It's up 30%. It is directly related to what's going on at the border.
Attorney General Schmidt, and a question also for
Yep.
in terms of the Title 42 case yesterday, can you elaborate on what transpired during that status conference, and have the parties met yet to discuss the next steps? And then a question for Attorney General Paxton. In the arguments today, it was really based off detaining or removing the migrants encountered at the U.S.-Mexico border. Texas is actually bringing migrants here to the U.S. Capitol. How do you square that?
So on the Title 42 issue, Missouri, Arizona, and Louisiana brought an action challenging the Biden administration from terminating Title 42. I think Texas has their own action too. So there's a number of things happening all at the same time. But what happened yesterday is we'll have a temporary restraining order that gets us to May 13th. May 13th will be the hearing on the preliminary order that we hope to obtain as well. So we've got a few weeks here, and really the impetus for that TRO was the Biden administration said that they were going to wait till mid-May to terminate Title 42. Well, there were news reports that they were actually doing that already. So that's why we obtained the TRO. It's very important. It's a big win, I think, for border security and the rule of law, and we'll be back in court on May 13th.
So let me answer that question first. So one is dealing with the federal government. This case was dealing with the federal government. Their obligation to either detain before the hearing or to deport. We have our hands tied. Our governors have their hand tied. I don't think it should be that way. We have this case, Arizona v. U.S., that gives the government most of the authority for dealing with the border crisis and for dealing with border security, and it limits our ability as a state to do things that maybe we would otherwise do to protect our citizens. And so one of the responses I think the governor of Texas made was he's going to send people up here and at least highlight the problem. It's a drop in the bucket compared to the number of people crossing the border, but it does call attention in a very legitimate way to the suffering that we have on the border of Texas.
Last question, guys. Last question.
Yeah, so the Biden administration made a lot of the need for Mexico's cooperation to even carry out this policy, and basically made the argument their hands are tied unless Mexico gets on board. Did you expect them to rely so heavily on that argument, and kind of what do you make of it?
Look, I'm not surprised. On the other hand, we know that the Trump administration successfully implemented this program. The numbers dropped dramatically, just like we'd expect that they would. The Biden administration made no attempt to do that. They just said, cartels, we don't want to enforce. It's open. The border's open. Bring as many people as you can come, so as you can get here. So, I wonder, will they ever actually try to implement the law? Even if we get a ruling from here, you make their argument. We can't get them to do it. The reality is, we know if they're motivated, if they actually care about the American people, they can work out something with Mexico. There's a lot that we have in common with Mexico. There's a lot of interest together that we need to work on, and this is one of those issues.
And
anyway,
I would just add real quickly to piggyback off of that too, that because of that lawsuit and the victory we had at the lower court, you've clearly seen the Biden administration drag their feet. But because of that, that's the reason why you have transparency now in the numbers. Because part of that order that we obtained initially was to actually for them to be transparent. They probably wouldn't be very clear about the number of people that are actually coming across, but for our action. So it's been very important on a number of different levels.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks.
Which way are we going?
Okay.